G'day, mates. After almost 1,000 hours in Balatro, clearing all the achievements, I thought I'd get some tier lists going to help out newcomers. This list is with the original 150 Jokers. I'm also going through the decks, the skip bonuses, tarot cards, spectral cards, all of that stuff there. So if you want to fine tune your Balatro game, yeah, feel free to subscribe as they will be coming out pretty quickly. Now, with the Jokers, I'll be taking into consideration their rarity, because it's not really fair comparing a common to a legendary. And this is for my kind of playstyle. So some may find that the cards that I find horrible, they'll love, and vice versa. So take all of this with a grain of salt, but let's get into it. Okay, so firstly, we have got just plain old Joker. Nice and easy one here. It's a +4 multiplier on anything. Very basic card, so nothing really to discuss here. It's fine, but it's one that I'd probably avoid getting. I'm going to chuck it in D just because it's so basic with what it does. Even early game there, it really does not help out too much. I mean, if it's the only thing that you can get, definitely grab it just to help yourself progress, but I'd be getting rid of it as soon as you can. Next, we have got the Greedy Joker. So any played diamonds will give you a 3+ multiplier. Good if you're doing flushes, which is good for your early game. But again, it's not really something I would be keeping for a long time unless you're doing a flush run. But even then, it's taking up a slot where you'd be able to get much better cards that are going to help multiply your score a lot better. So I will also be chucking that in D. Now, as the next three cards are pretty much the same thing, you've got your heart version, you've got your spade version, and you've got your club version. So they're all very much the same. Again, for the very first ante, maybe, just to help you get across the line without having to spend big on cards and other power-ups, but I'd probably be avoiding keeping them past ante 1 or 2 if you can. The next ones are going to be more hand-based, so we've got the Jolly Joker. Jolly Joker is for your pairs, so if you play a pair, you get a +8 multiplier. A little bit better than the suit-based ones, so I used to play a lot of flushes, so the suit ones were not too bad for me, but I've sort of jumped off of that bandwagon and sticking more to specific hands. So with the pairs, I will be probably popping it into C. Now, this is going to be very similar for the rest of them as well. It's an 8+ multiplier or a 12+. So you've got your 3 of a kind. Again, nothing too glary. It's fine. Again, probably get away with a couple of antes with it. Same with the 2 pair. This one here will give you a 10+ multiplier. You then have your Crazy Joker, which is for straights. So straights, again, fine, perfectly fine. And then your flush. So the flush, again, if you can combine one of these with one of these, makes it a little bit better early on, but it's not really anything to stand out. The next ones are very much the same kind of deal. So your pair, your 3 of a kind, your 2 pair, so on there, but it is going to be adding to your chip count instead. Again, these aren't bad, so especially early on. So I'd probably be chucking all of these into C tier as well. So you're obviously getting your 50+ for the Sly Joker on any of your pairs. You then have the Wily Joker, which is 100 chips on a 3 of a kind. You've got 2 pair with your Clever Joker for 80 chips. You've got the Devious Joker, so 100 chips on a straight. And then your flush for the Crafty Joker here, you'll get 80+ chips. Again, nothing glary. These are all the most basic of cards here, so starting off low. Obviously, as soon as we progress into the more interesting Jokers, you're going to start to see more up in the top level. But for starting off, these ones here are all good for first, second, antes, and so on. Um, Next, we will move over to the half Joker. Now, this one's interesting because I generally have been playing either high card or pair as going for my high scores. I'll basically be making another video explaining how the high card is the most overpowered hand in the game. Um, but yeah, very, very, very handy if you're making a play with 1 to 3 cards. So anything under 3 cards there, you'll get a 20 plus multiplier. So nice, easy plus 20 if you're just doing a high card. I'm actually someone who uses this one quite a bit. Now, it's a common, it's nothing special, but I'm actually going to put it up in A because it is quite a handy little one to have, especially when you're going to be getting that plus 20 on every hand you're playing, especially if you're doing high card. So I'm a big fan of the half Joker there. We then have the Joker stencil. Now, this one is a bit of a trickier one. So this one's going to be more beneficial the less Jokers you have on. So generally, if it's the only one you have on there, it can be quite powerful. You get basically a ×1 multi for every spare Joker slot, every empty Joker slot you have. So if you've got 5 Joker slots there, you've got that 1 card there. You could potentially be looking at a +4 multiplier. So it can be good, but it's not powerful enough to carry you past the sort of mid-game area by yourself, unless you have absolutely dominated with everything else. You've got lots of sort of fancy playing cards. You've got a nice run of planet cards for the type of hand that you're playing, and a whole lot of luck. So it can be useful, but I generally, past 1 or 2 antis, will try and avoid the stencil Joker. So I can only really put it into D. It's an uncommon, and it's one of the worst uncommons in my opinion, to be honest. So not a massive fan. Next, we have 4 fingers. Now, this one can be quite good. So basically, with your flushes and your straights, you can be making them with 4 cards. So this can be quite good. If you build up your run for flushes and for straights, one or the other, and being able to do them in 4 cards, it can be quite powerful. Now, it all depends if that's what you're going to be going for or not, but quite a good little card. Like I would be recommending it if that's the type of hand that you go for. It just means that you probably be able to get away with having less discards there. Chances of getting a 5-card run becomes a lot greater when you can do it in 4. Obviously, you're only getting a payout for the 4 cards instead of the 5 there, but if you've got Jokers and other power-ups that are going to be essentially pushing the score limiter on those types of hands, then yeah, I mean it's a good little one to have. So this one here, might actually put it in our first B. It's situational again. It's not the type of hands that I play anymore. I used to love my flush runs, but now I'm going for the single and the pairs. It's not something I really use too much, but very, very good for what it is. Now, the Mime. The Mime is quite good. So the Mime will re-trigger all card held in hand abilities. So this pairs really, really nicely with quite a few. So if you've got any playing cards that will have a bonus where it will either pay you out, give you some coin, or it will multiply. So very much in line with, say, having the Baron, where it will have a multiplier for every king in your hand. If you've got the Mime, it will re-trigger that again. And this has actually been a part of some of my extremely high scores in conjunction with some of the other higher end Jokers there. It just works very, very well. So it's impossible not to really put it into the first S tier. I guess it's not S tier. Just get every time. Again, only if you have other Jokers that rely on cards in hand being towards your scoring, essentially. But if you do, don't skip out on the Mime. The Mime is a fantastic card and just an uncommon as well, so it's not something that is too hard to get. You can get it quite frequently. Now, we've got the credit card. This is a tricky one to place because in a pinch, it could be a B or an A, but it can also fall into a trap, or put you into a trap where I'd be either avoiding at all costs or very, very low tier. I try to avoid it every time because a lot of the hands that I play rely on having a nice high bank balance, and this is then becomes pointless basically. If I've got hundreds of dollars in my bank, I don't really need this. So I I would say get it if you are in a pinch. If you're on your last legs, you have no money, and it's the only thing you can get. It gives you an extra $20 to be able to try and spend and build up your power ups. But by that point there, I'd just be restarting the run. If you're at the point where you're barely making it through each hand and you've got no money to sort of bolster it up, then this is more of a trap. So I generally avoid it. I'm not a big fan of the bank card. Very handy early on, but once you really learn how to play Balatro there and sort of be able to build your bank balance up, it just becomes a completely useless card. So next, the Ceremonial Dagger. So when the blind is selected, destroy the Joker to the right and permanently add double its sell value to this multi. Now, if you have a bunch of average Jokers, by all means, this one here can be quite a good one to have, just to destroy those Jokers, add it to a multi, and away you go. And then once you have a hand, like a set of Jokers that you really are a fan of, and this one's still in play, just keep it all the way to the right there, just so it doesn't eat any more of your other Jokers. That being said, unless you have been very lucky and had very high value cards, so like the egg, for instance, it doesn't add heaps to the value, or heaps to the scoring side of things. So it's not a bad card. It's, again, a situational one there. If you have a whole bunch of like these ones here and you're getting into antes 3 or 2 or 3 or 4 or anything around that sort of early to mid, it can be fine if none of these are doing anything for you. It's especially good if it's in conjunction with the card that will give you essentially 2 Jokers each round. You can basically just keep feeding it and away you go, but it's not something that I really use very often. So again, a lot of people, I've seen people make some amazing runs with this one here, but it's just not something for me. I will put it in C because it's not bad. It's just something that once you have all your Jokers in line, it's not something that you're going to really be using too often. So, yeah. Next, we have got the banner. This one can be a bit of a beast. So, especially early on, and especially if you've got more discards. So if you've got other things that are giving you more discards at the start of each round, you're essentially getting 30 chips per discard remaining. So for me, it's extremely good because if I'm using high card, I generally don't have to use any of my discards. So if I've got 3, 4, 5, 6 discards, and I'm getting 30 chips each, and that's getting added to my score, it is quite a powerful little one. So the banner is something that I actually bring up quite a lot. I don't know if I'd be putting it in S tier, even though I use it every time. Again, it's only really suitable if you're not going to be using discards at all. If you are trying to get a specific type of hand or anything along those lines there, it loses its power quite quickly every time you use a discard. But if you're doing a high card run or a pair run or whatever it may be, or you just have built your deck up so your card or your hand comes out every time, then yeah, by all means, it's a good card. So I'm going to chuck this one in A because I use it quite a lot. I use it every time if I can, unless, of course, I have to get rid of it for something a bit more powerful. But very rarely. This one's generally I can take this one into endgame. So next we have got Mystic Summit. It can be good. So this one here, if you have 0 discards remaining, you'll get a 15+ multiplier. Now, so it's kind of the polar opposite of the banner card. So It can be good if you are doing larger hands, so your flushes, your straights, your four of a kind, five of a kind, and you're going to be belting through all your discards there. Um, I don't know. It's just not anywhere near as powerful as this. I would rather keep my discards and get the 30 plus chips per hand than using all my discards and getting a 15 plus multiplier. So it's not a bad card. It's not a great card. It's one that I generally miss every time it will come. I won't avoid it at all costs because it does have its benefits there. Again, nice early game card, but nothing I'd be keeping past sort of two or three ante there. Next, we've got the Marble Joker. So this one here, I don't think I've really ever used. So I don't really use stone cards at all in any of my plays. I've mucked around with them a bit, and they can be handy, but it's something I generally try to avoid. Very, very good if you do have a bunch of stone cards in there, and it does work in conjunction with one of the other later cards that we'll talk about quite well, but not something I generally go for. So if you love stone cards or you use them a lot in your hands, by all means go for it. It's good for what it is there. If you've got a lot of stone cards, then yeah. So next up we have the Marble Joker. So this one adds a stone card to the deck every time a blind is selected. Now, I don't really use the stone cards, so I've mucked around with them a little bit, but they are not really a part of my playstyle. This can be quite handy with one of the jokers that will come up a bit later on in the tier list. But for me, it's something I don't use at all. It is good for someone building up a stone deck sort of play style, but for me, it's something I don't use at all. So, um, again, I'd be putting it in D just purely because it does have its uses, but for me, it's an avoid at all cost, just because I never see the benefit of using this over most other jokers. So, and that's where I'm going to try and justify keeping it in the avoid at all costs. So. Next, we have the loyalty card. Now, this one can be okay. It's essentially you'll get a 4 times multiplier every 6 hands played. Now, it just means that 1 in 6 hands you're going to have a big sort of boost in your score, but it is useless for the other 5 hands or 6 hands there. So it doesn't really come into play until you've essentially marked off the 6 hands played. So again, has its benefits, especially if you've got a lot of hands to play. If you're generally finding that you're playing 6 hands per sort of round, then by all means it can be useful. But for me, nah, it's just it's not worth the payoff of having one benefit every 6 hands. Generally, I try to clear a round with 1 to 2 hands at the most. That's what you should be sort of aiming for. So this one just has no benefit there. You get very little out of it. So next we have got the 8 ball. So this is a 1 in 4 chance for each 8 played to create a tarot card when scored. I mean, unless you've changed most of your deck to play 8s and you're playing 5 of a kind or whatever it may be, it is not great. There's other cards on there that will give you tarot cards for a lot less a lot less requirements essentially. So again, has its purposes and it's again situational. As I said, if you built your deck up and removed a whole bunch of cards there and you've changed a lot of them so they're all 8s and so on, it can be fine, but no, it's not worth your time. So next, the misprint. So this one is essentially gambling inside a gambling game. So it will essentially give you a random multiplier. So you could get +4, you could get +20, you could get +17, 21, 23. It could just be a random number. Again, early game, it's actually not too bad. So if you get that there, even if you're getting plus fours, it's something. It's still better than just the plain old Joker there. But it becomes too erratic in the mid to late game there because you sort of need a bit more consistency when it comes to what is going to be multiplying your score and what's going to be adding to your hand's value. So good, but not great. I'd actually chuck it in C just purely because as an early game card, and it pops up quite a lot in the early game, it can get you out a lot of tight pinches there. You can generally finish a round in one hand if you get lucky with the multiplier. If it comes up with a high teens, low 20s, it can be quite beneficial. But I wouldn't be keeping it for your in-game kind of game play if you can avoid it. All right, next we have Dusk. So re-trigger all played cards in the final round, or the final hand of the round. Again, good. It can be very handy. If you are exhausting all of your hands played, you can generally get a nice little buff at the end. So if you're re-triggering and you're playing a 5-card hand like a flush or a straight, and all of those you've got glass cards, or if you've got any form of multiplier attached to those, it can be quite good. Again, it's in a similar situation to the loyalty card where you only get the benefit once per hand, maybe, and that's if you see it all the way to the end. If you're finishing your hands with some hands left over, like if you're not exhausting every sort of hand playable, this is going to be of little benefit to you. So, yeah, not bad, not great. I wouldn't put it as a C because it's not quite as useful as, say, the misprint there. I'd be saying a D, but I'd be putting it as a sort of a higher D. Again, same as these two here. I'd probably chuck them in front of that. This thing here, right at the end, and I don't think they'll be moving. Again, not something I'd avoid 100% there, but I never use it. But it's fine in the first 1 or 2 rounds if you have no other choices. So the Raised Fist, so adds double the rank to the lowest ranked card held in hand to multiplier. So essentially, if you are running, I don't know, say you're playing high card there, you use an ace, it will essentially take the value of that ace and then double it. If you're running a straight and you're using sort of 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace, it will take the 10 and double it and add it to the multi. So it can be quite good. Again, a good early game card. Nothing I'd be using too late into the game, but it's definitely more useful than a lot of the D tiers. So I'll probably be chucking in C. Next, Chaos the Clown. So 1 free re-roll per shop. Very easy. I mean, it doesn't really have too much impact on the hand side of things or the game side of things there. This one's sort of outside the actual playing of the game. This is more when you're going to be buying your power-ups. Not a bad card to have at all. But again, if you're someone who plays my playstyle and you might generally have a ton of money there, $5 for a reroll is not going to sort of break your balance too much, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. But it has its purpose, so for what it is perfectly fine. If you've got other jokers that are more than capable of holding you above float or above ground and you still want to build it up there, having an extra reroll each time you go into the shop there can be quite handy. So I might actually chuck it in C. It's not a bad one to have. So yeah, all right. Next we have got the Fibonacci. So each played ace, 2, 3, 5, and 8 scores an 8+ multiplier when scored. This one's not too bad. Generally, if I am going for a 4 of a kind or a 5 of a kind run, I'll generally try to pick up or try and get as many aces into my deck as possible. So change a lot of cards to aces and so on and so forth, just purely because it's not hindered by any of the penalties that will affect sort of your face cards, and it's a high scoring card. So I generally try to do that. So this card, when I'm doing 5 of a kind aces can be quite good, getting an 8+ multiplier for each ace used. If you're not doing anything like that, it cannot be anywhere near as useful. But for me, it's actually something I use quite a lot, especially early to mid game. Again, not a late game card, but it is something that will definitely carry you for a while. So yeah, I have no problem with the Fibonacci whatsoever. The Steel Joker. So the Steel Joker will give you a 0.2 multiplier for each steel card in your full deck. Not a bad card to have if you run a lot of steel cards. So if I am going to be doing a Baron run, I've got a lot of kings. I'll generally try to put a lot of those kings, into steel cards. And if you've got a lot of those out in the field, can be good. But having a lot of them in your deck, getting that 0.2 multiplier can add up quite quickly. If you've got 10, 15, 20 cards there, you're getting a 2 or a 3 or a 4+ multiplier. So it can work out quite good. It's hard because you've got to get those steel cards into your deck, and sometimes the shop just won't give you what you need. So it's going to be a situational one there. If you do find yourself early on with a lot of steel cards in your hand or in your deck, then by all means, pick this one up here. Probably going to chuck it in C, but it would be a very high C because it is something that can be very handy, especially if you are using it with, say, the Mime, where it will re-trigger your in-hand card bonuses. So you get that multiplier again. But yeah, it can be quite a handy one there. So next, we have got the Scary Face. So played face cards give 30+ chips when scored. So sometimes when I'm doing my runs there, if I'm doing a 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind run type deal, or a flush house or anything along those lines there, I'll try to go with the picture cards. Scary Face can be quite good. It's good early on, very, very good early on, and it is good pretty much all the way through, depending on the type of hand that you're playing. Again, if you're playing your 5-card runs and you're using all face cards, then it can be an absolute beast because you get an extra 150 chips essentially. So it can be a very, very good card to have. It is actually one that I would use and use quite frequently. So being a common card as well, you do see it pop up quite a lot. And yeah, I honestly think it's an A-tier card. So for what it is there, it gives you a lot of bang for your buck. So very, 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 very good one to keep an eye out for. Next, we have the Abstract Joker. So a +3 multiplier for each Joker card. So if you start to get a few negative Jokers in there, especially when you get the Glass Joker later on, or the one that will essentially last 2 rounds, this one here, and you can make a copy of one of your Jokers and so on. If you're starting to get multiple Jokers in your hand, I mean, some of the games that I've played have had 15, 20 Jokers sometimes. It's been an absolute madhouse in my upper part of my screen, but this one can be quite handy for that. Good early game card, good mid game card again if you have lots of Jokers. If you can build out your sort of Joker past the sort of 5 limit, then it just becomes more and more powerful as you go. But yeah, I'd probably go a B tier just because you can build it up pretty well. You can make some decent sort of plays with that. Oh, I might go C because it's, again, getting, I mean, generally even in a bad run, I'll sort of get 7, 8 Jokers, maybe 9. Getting 15, 20 Jokers, and that is a bit of a rarity. So I'll probably go a C. Like a pretty decent C, because it is useful. Again, early game, very, very good. If you've got 5 Jokers on the field, very good. Next, we have got Delayed Gratification. So earn $2 per discard if no discards are used by the end of the round. Very, very good one. So I use this card to build up my bank balance quite frequently. If you've got multiple discards, it works in conjunction with the banner card very well, because you're not going to be using your discards, obviously, so you're getting a nice chip bonus. And then on top of that, if you're not using any of your discards, you're then getting $2 for each discard saved. So if you've got 4 or 5 discards there, you could be getting $8 to $10 on top of your win bonus, on top of all your other bonuses there. It's an easy way to really build up your bank balance. So I'm actually definitely putting this one in a B tier. Again, it doesn't have heaps of impact on the actual gameplay, but it helps you build up your bank account there, which will have an impact on your gameplay. So definitely worth one keeping an eye on. The next one is the hack. So re-trigger each played 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, I use this one quite a lot when I first started off playing Balatro. I'd be playing flushes, I'd be playing straights. I thought 5 cards, obviously the best type of hand you can go for. The more cards, the better, so on and so forth. And I try and keep it all in the low numbers there. And this thing could be quite handy, especially if you've got modified 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s and so on and so forth. So it can be very, very handy. It doesn't, not something I really play with now. I don't really use it because I generally try to play with aces or picture cards, or depending what I'm doing. So, but I will still occasionally pick it up there if I, for some reason, change a lot of my cards to a 2, 3, 4, or 5. So if I'm doing a 5 card play, like a 5 of a kind or a 4 of a kind, and that one pops up there, it can be a nice little bonus, especially if they're modified cards. So not a bad card at all. Again, very good in the early game as well. B, it'd be a very, very low B or a very high C, and I think I'd go a very high C. So it's good. It's very good. It's gotten me out of a lot of tight situations, but it's not something, again, be taking into the end game there. Next, I hope I'm spelling this one or saying this one right. Pareidolia. So all cards are considered face cards. Now, as long as you don't get the issue, not the issue, the penalty where all your face cards are disabled or whatever it may be there, you're fine. Otherwise, then you just sell it anyway and you can just use your number cards there. But this goes very well in conjunction with something, say, like the Scary Face, where each face card gives you 30 plus chips. So it just means that any cards that you play, you'll get 30 plus chips on. There's other cards as well, other jokers that essentially will benefit of having face cards in your played hand. So this one is a very good way of beating the system if you've been given a lot of numbered cards there and so on and so forth. You can just essentially trick the dealer into giving you a nice little bonus for every card you play. So I am a big fan of this one. I think it's a good card, especially for the types of games that I play. I'd definitely be putting it in an A tier. For an uncommon card, it's something that pops up a bit, but I think it's just a very good little card to have, especially if you've got something like the Scary Face where it will benefit. Same with the Smiley Face. Smiley Face is also something for your face cards. So next we have the Gros Michel, which is essentially the banana card. So you will get a 15 plus multiplier, but it has a 1 in 6 chance of being destroyed. It is an awesome card to get early game. Very early game sort of card there. It will be of massive benefit to you there. Just getting a 15 plus multiplier. I mean, I've had that thing last sometimes until mid-game and not get destroyed. I've also played it once and then it's just been destroyed immediately. So it's taken a gamble, but it's a disposable kind of card there. Once it goes, you're like, it helped me. I had a good run with it there. Move on to something else. So you're not too upset once it goes. So I think it's actually a pretty good card. Very good early game card. Again, not something I'd be taking past the mid game, but for an early game card, very, very good. Next, we have Even Steven. So played cards with even rank give a +4 multiplier when scored. So you're 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. Now, again, very good. If you are playing flushes and you've got all even numbers, if you are playing um, three of a kind, four of a kind, five of a kind, and you've modded a lot of your cards to be tens or eights or twos or fours or whatever it may be, then it can be all right. It can be not a bad little one there. Again, a good early game card, but I wouldn't be putting it past sort of ante three or four if you're wanting to really sort of excel. So I'll chuck it into C, probably even a high D, maybe. Yeah, probably a high D because at least with these ones up here, you've got your pairs and your three of a kind, so you're not sort of limited to four or five card types there. You've got multiple that you can use. Next one is very similar, the odd Todd. So for each odd card that you play, so your ace, 9, 7, 5, and 3, you'll get 31 chips. Now, it is similar in the sense of even Steven. It's obviously just the opposite. But for someone like myself, who generally plays a lot of ace-based hands, it is very useful. Much more useful than the even Steven for me. So, yeah, this one here. I could put this in a low B, to be honest, because especially if I'm playing five aces each time, it's like 155 coin each time, 155 chips each time, so it can be very, very, very powerful. So yeah, I'd probably put that there just because I play a lot of aces there, and it's always good. Very, very, very good early game, but if you're doing five of a kind aces and that, it can take you pretty much all the way to end game if you've got some other jokers to help compensate it. So very similar to the Scholar. So a Scholar is another one, very, very good for people that play ace hands like myself. So five aces. What you're getting is essentially 20 plus chips and plus 4 multis for every ace played. Not quite as good as this one. I find because the type of deck that I use there will balance it out. So, so the multi and chips. Essentially, I'd be wanting more chips than that because you can generally get more of them. So this one is fine. I'd be putting it probably high C if you're playing the ace only hands there. Still very, very good. Again, it's one that you'd probably be using up to mid game and then moving on from there if you can. Business card. So when face cards played face cards have a 1 in 2 chance to give $2 when scored. Now, this one is very good if you are using it with this bad boy up here, the Pareidolia. So it just means that every card that you play, you have a 1 in 2 chance of getting $2. So if you are playing 4 or 5 hands in a game, and you've got 5 cards per hand, you're essentially playing 25 cards. You've got a chance of making 10, $15 as an average. I mean, obviously 1 in 2 chance there, you can get nothing, but yeah, it's good. It's a decent little hand, little card to have. So not great. Again, it's very similar to delayed gratification. It doesn't really affect the gameplay so much when you're playing the actual card side. It is more your bank. So not quite as useful as the delayed gratification. I'd still probably be putting it into the high C area. Still very, very good. Next, we have got Supernova. So this adds the number of times a poker hand has been played this run to the multi. Now, this one is not good to get later on in the game, in your run. But if you get this in your first ante, and especially if you're doing high card runs there, you might be playing multiple per hand or like round, and it's just adding 1 multi per time you do that. You can build up the multiplier very quickly with Supernova. So it is good, very good. It's an uncommon card. It comes out quite a lot. Again, if you mid game, I'd avoid it at all costs. If you get this early, I'd be saying a high C to a low B. I'd probably even go a low B on that there because it will add up quickly. you might be playing 40, 50, 60 hands per run, and if you're getting a 50 or a 60 plus multiplier just for literally playing your hand, then you're laughing basically, so you can't go wrong. Next, we have the Ride the Bus. So the Joker gains a 1 plus multi per consecutive hand play without a scoring face card. This one can be useful for my ace only kind of runs. Very, very unuseful if you're using it with the Paradolia. But if you are just playing aces there, it can be good. It's not great. Again, you're getting the +1 multiplier per consecutive hand, but it kind of limits you there. It's not like the Supernova where you get it regardless. This one here, you're sort of bound to not use any face cards whatsoever. So not anywhere near as good. It's one that I generally don't even recognize as a card when it comes up as an option. So I'm going to put it in D. And again, it's not a bad D. If you're running just numbered runs and so on there, it can be good. But no, I'd just be avoiding it if possible. There's so many other options that are better. The Space Joker. So a 1 in 4 chance to upgrade the level of your played poker hand. Again, very much like the Supernova. If you get this early on, it is a absolute powerhouse of a card. It just means 1 in 4 hands that you play, you can potentially level up that hand. So essentially works as just gaining a planet card for the hand that you're using. It can catch you out if you're sort of, especially early game there, you might be mixing up your hands. You might be going, oh, I need a straight to make sure I get the score I need, or I might need to use a flush or a 3 of a kind there, and it might level up that hand, which you don't plan on using later. But if you've got other jokers that are enough to get your specific hand type that you're playing across the line, having this in the back pocket in the first couple of rounds is awesome. Even mid game, it can be handy. You can get a couple of extra levels out of it there, which works out well. So mid game, I'd be putting it as a mid C, but if you get it in the first round or even the second round or antes, it is high B to A. It is, I'm going to probably go a low A. It is an awesome hand, especially if you get if you can halve that 1.4 to a 1.2. It just means 1 in 2 hands you're going to be upgrading your level, like your poker hand level, which is just insanity. Next, the Little Old Egg. So I like this card, especially because there's some cards that will give you bonuses based on how much your jokers are worth. It's very good when you also get I forget what the tarot card's called at the moment here, just off the top of my head, because I'm just thinking jokers. But when it basically will add your sell value to your bank balance there. If you've got one of these that's been sitting in your pile of jokers for a little while there, and it's building up $3 per round that you're playing, it can just give you a nice, quick, easy $50 essentially. So I think this thing's a little beast. There's other cards as well that will base its multiplier off of what the value of all your jokers are. And if you've got this thing sitting at $60, $70, $80 in value, it absolutely slaps. And if you don't, and you get into a tight pinch, you sell it off, make some cool card cash. I actually think this is an A tier card. So it's very versatile. It's got so many uses. If you get it early game, it is high A. If you get it mid game, it'd probably be a high B. But I'd be saying that's a nice spot to put it. Low A, right bang smack in the middle of where I'd be putting it, depending on where you pick it up in the game. Next. Now, I know I've been saying how good Banner is and delayed gratification with the discard side of things here, but one hand that I use quite a lot is the Burglar. So Burglar essentially will you lose all your discards, so you won't have any discards whatsoever. So if you have any jokers that are relying on discards, it's a bad card to get. But if you don't, it will lose all your discards and you'll gain an extra 3 hands. Now, if you use this in conjunction with, say, something like Blueprint, essentially you're going to be gaining an extra 6 hands. So you could be having 10, 12 hands to play with each round if you sort of time it up right, or if you set it all up right there, so you're getting the benefit out of it. So it is a absolute beast of a card. It's something that if it pops up, I will use every round because I'm generally right now, as I said, playing the high card hand, and when you start getting into ante 11, 12, so on and so forth, where the numbers, the high scores that you're trying to go for are absolutely ridiculous there. Having double the amount of hands or more, double to triple the amount of hands sometimes, it can just absolutely be a game changer. So this is actually one of my favorite cards. I actually get it every time. So it's an uncommon card. I will get it every time that it pops up. I've gone away from rare cards and even legendary cards if this is a option, just because it is so powerful. It should be a rare card. It shouldn't be an uncommon. It should be rare. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that one there. Next we have the blackboard. So 3 times multi if all cards held in hand are spades or clubs. This one is, for me, trash. I do not use it at all. Yeah, unless you are playing, well, if you set up your deck somehow where you only have spades and clubs, you don't have any hearts or diamonds in there, then it's fine. I'd say it's pretty good. Actually, I won't go avoid at all costs because I mean it has its benefits. I don't use it at all, so I wouldn't put it. I'd put it down here if it was just for me personally, but for other people, they may find benefit with it. So I'd put it in maybe a mid D. Yeah, just not my bag, not my cup of tea. So, next we have the runner. So, gains 15 chips if the played hand contains a straight. So, if you are doing a straight run, this thing can be wicked. So, every hand that you're playing is a straight, and you're getting 15 chips added to this as a permanent buff. If you get this early on there, you can have hundreds and hundreds of chips as a bonus there. So for a common card, this can be extremely powerful, especially if you're doing straight runs. I generally don't do straight runs anymore, but I can see the value in this card. So I'd be putting this as a high C, even a low B, just because it is a absolute powerhouse of a card if that's your type of hand that you're playing. And I can't be 100% biased. I'm trying not to base this off of what type of hands that I play, but obviously I've got my own play style there. I have to sort of try and be a little impartial when it comes to cards that are not really something suited to me. I generally don't pick this up at all, just because I don't play straights anymore. I did back in the day and it was good, but yeah, for somebody who plays straights, this thing is almost a necessity. So, the ice cream. This is a wicked card to get early on in the first couple of antes. You essentially get 100 chips. Each hand that you play, it will lose 5 chips. So, especially starting off there, you're getting essentially free chips added to your multiplier. If you get this in the first ante, you can play a high card and it will just absolutely dominate the score. You'll be getting low to mid thousands in score. So this thing's good. Very, very good. I used it quite a lot. Again, the more you play with it there, it obviously loses 5 chips per hand. And if you're playing multiple hands per round, it can drop quickly. But if you're playing one hand per round and it is essentially enough to get you across the line, you're only losing 5 chips each time, this thing can be handy for 3 or 4 rounds and that before it starts to show that it's weakening. So yeah, it's a good little card, this one here. So I'd be putting this if you get it. If you're getting it, I guess anytime you get it there, depending what your other jokers are and so on, I'd be saying it's a B. It's a good card. So again, something that weakens over time there, but you'll get some use out of it for multiple antes, I think. So DNA. So if the first hand of the round has only one card, add a permanent copy to the deck and draw it to the hand. This is one of my favorite cards by far. I play high card or if I'm playing a Baron run there, just being able to play one card, add a copy of it to your deck, you can build some stellar decks there. If you've got multiplier cards, or if you've got cards, any of the modified cards there, you will get another one in your deck there. So I've had games where I've got 5 aces, or I've got way more than that, but I'm playing 5 aces there. They've all got multipliers on it there, because I've just essentially been copying the same run over and over again there, and it is a monster. I mean, anyone who's played Balatro has gotten this card here, and especially people that play, your high cards especially, or going for a 5 of a kind or so on, this card is almost invaluable. This is probably my favorite card in the game, besides something, 1 or 2 cards that will come up a bit later on, but definitely the highest card that we've reviewed by far. It almost deserves another tier level just purely for itself, because it is insane. Now that I've finished gushing about how good that card is, splash, every card played counts in scoring. Yeah, not something I really use very often. You're playing high card, and I mean, it can be good. I mean, if you say, for instance, have the burglar and you don't have any discards, and your only way to discard hand or cards is essentially to play them, it can be good, because you can go for a high card or a pair or so on, and then just add an extra couple of cards to that hand, even though they might not be counted for scoring normally. It just gives them a little bit of a score addition to it when you're sort of doing a play discard. I don't really use it. I don't think it's anything good. Maybe early game it's pretty good, but not something I'd be using. Actually, to be honest, I'd probably avoid. It's not. I mean, I'd put avoid at all costs there, because again, it depends on what your play style is. But for me, no. It's borderline a low D, but no, not for me. So another awesome little card, very similar to the ice cream. We have the blue Joker. So you get 2 chips for each remaining card in your deck. So this is good if A, you have added a lot of cards to your deck, so you're getting an additional 2 chips on top of the 104 it starts with. And B, it's very good for someone like myself who plays high card, where you generally are not going to be discarding. You're generally going to play one of the cards that comes out in the first hand. So you're always getting sort of the maximum amount. I would not be using this if you are discarding multiple hands prior, because it's just going to be taking off 10 chips per hand. But yeah, if you build up your deck and you've got more cards than the standard 52, this thing is wicked. So, but yeah, I'd be putting this in a B. I put it even above the ice cream, because it's already got a higher amount if you don't take any cards away, and it doesn't lose the 5. Actually, put that down probably around there. There. And this one I think would be putting up here. Probably there. I generally pick that up nearly every time I see it, if it's sort of before round 5 or so. Even in late game in there, it can be a handy little one to have. So next we have the Sixth Sense. So this one here, if the first hand of each round is a single 6, destroy it and create a spectral card. So this one's good if you want to get rid of some cards for free, basically. You don't need a tarot card to destroy it there. Plus, you get the added benefit of getting a spectral card given. So it's good for 4 uses. Unless you change a lot of your cards to 6s, then you can get more out of it, which can be good. I've done that, and I ended up just getting spectral card after spectral card after spectral card, and it helped me really build up other aspects of my deck there, while I was also getting rid of all my 6s. So it's a good little card. Again, it's situational. If you don't have more than 4 6s, you're only going to get 4 uses out of it, and then boom, it's done. Again, doesn't have a huge impact on the gameplay, like the actual hands being played, but very much like the money-making cards, you will see benefits elsewhere. So I'm going to go probably high C-ish. I'd be saying around that area. I like my spectral cards, so when I see it, I get a little bit excited, but again, You only get a bit of a use out of it there. As soon as you use those 4 6s and that, you might as well sell that thing off. There's no use for it from that point. Next, we have Constellation. So, this Joker gains 0.1 multi every time a planet card is used. This is quite good, especially in conjunction with some other cards that will give you planet cards for free, essentially. Just means every time you use a planet card, you get a 0.1 multi. You start off with a 1, so 10 planet cards in use there. You're up to a 0.2 multi, 20, you're up to it. I mean, sometimes I've had, if I'm doing a high card run there, I've got my Pluto up to sort of level 40, level 50. So I could be, essentially, if I got this at the start, I could be looking at more than a 4 or a 5 times multiplier. So this one, if you get this early, is awesome. Even if you get it mid-game, it can be quite good if you get a lot of planet cards. So I'd probably go a low B for that one there. It is good. Again, I wouldn't be wasting time or money getting other planet cards that are not suited to your run just to bulk this up. Unless you've got a lot of money to spare, then by all means go nuts. But I wouldn't be basing your whole run off of trying to feed this thing. But it's good to have. Good to have. All right, next we have the Hiker. So I love the Hiker card. This card is awesome. So essentially you get, every time a card is played, 5 chips added to the bonus as a permanent buff. So if you get this early on, and especially if you're playing the same type of card over and over again, so like, again, using example, my 5 card run with the aces is something I use quite frequently. This thing is super powerful. Like, it's high A, but I do get it every time. So I think it's an awesome card. And it's an uncommon card as well, so it's not a super rare card there. Again, I feel like it should be, because I've had some of my cards being worth over 100 chips each time. So you get playing 5 of those there, you're getting 500 chips. So especially very, very good if you're using it with the DNA card. If you have a card that's got a lot of chips added to it from the Hiker, and then you're using the DNA to make a copy of it, and then you're using the blueprint to copy the DNA, so it's making 2 copies of it there, you can build up a super powerful deck super quickly. So awesome, awesome card. Hiker is definitely one to get very, very much every time it comes up. So next we have the Faceless Joker. So you earn $5 if 3 or more face cards are discarded at the same time. Again, I try to play games where I'm either not using any discards because I want to use the delay gratification, for example. But sometimes you have to. You have to sort of get rid of them. So if you got lots of face cards and you're going to be doing a lot of them, they can be like a lot of discards. It can be handy, but I generally think this card is pretty useless. It has its benefits. I'd be putting it pretty low on the D tier, something I generally don't go for. I see its benefit, again, especially if you're trying to build up your bank balance and you are doing discards and so on and so forth, then yeah, go for it. But nah, I'd be avoiding that one. So the Green Joker. So you get a plus multiplier per hand played and a minus multiplier per hand discarded. So, or per cards, or per discard, essentially. So this one, again, very, very good if you're using a run where you're going to be not using any discards there. You're just adding a 1 multiplier each time you play it. It's good. It's not great. It adds up slowly. Early game, it's fine. Especially if you get it very early on there, you can sort of add quite a large multiplier to it there, but not something I'd go out of my way to have. So yeah, Green Joker, fine. It's not great. Probably got a low C. It's got its uses, but nah, nothing to write home about. So, you've got your Create a Tarot card. If the poker hand contains an ace and a straight, so this is the superposition card. I don't do straights. Again, we've already discussed this. Again, it's a very specific one. On top of that, there, if you're running straights, you're essentially going to have to be running either a ace 2 3 4 5 or a 10 jack queen king ace straight. They're the only 2 hands that will get any benefit out of this. Create a tarot card, away you go. But no, this one here, I'd be putting for people that are playing the straights and they're going to be playing those types of hands, it could be a C. It can be quite a high C there. It can be useful. For me though, nah, no usage whatsoever. I don't see any benefit in it there. It's still better than a lot of these other ones down here, but nah, not for me. So, the to-do list. So earn $4 if the poker hand is whatever it may be. It could be a full house, it could be a high card, pair, and it changes every round. So not great. Good early on when you might be just playing any old hand just to get past the round. As soon as you start building your deck up though, and your jokers to a specific hand type, it goes out the window. You only get $4 for every time your type of hand comes around. Early game, it's fine. Probably a high D, low C. Again, I'd probably avoid that one. It's such a situational card there that you have to. You don't want to be playing the game basing it off of what type of hand it's going to give you $4. $4 is not much. If it was a larger dollar amount, I'd probably chuck it up a bit higher. Especially an early game card there, it could be good, but no, not for someone who's going to be playing and trying to get a specific type of hand there. It's just a bit useless. So, right now we have got the Cavendish. So this is very much like the normal banana. You get a ×3 multiplier, which is good. Then you also get a 1 in 1,000 chance that the card's destroyed at the end of the round, which is also very good because, I mean, I think I've had this thing destroyed once the whole time that I've ever used it. So, and it's a common card as well, which is just insanity. So I think this is actually quite a good card. So I'd be putting it, yeah, probably around this area. So high B, it's very useful. You get that 3 times multiplier there. You don't really have to worry about the chances of it being destroyed anywhere near this. So 1 in 6 compared to 1 in 1,000. Plus it's got cool lightning effects instead of this boring background. It is a super banana basically. So go for that one if you get it pop up, especially early game, even mid game, late game. If you've got no real multiplier cards, this one pops up, it's well worth picking up. So, next we have got the Card Sharp. So, 3 times multi if the played poker hand has already been played this round. This one's quite good as well, especially if you're playing the same card over and over again. It is the polar opposite to the to-do list there, so you're not just randomly playing whatever hand you are playing. If you were just doing high card or just doing pair or just doing flushes, this thing, essentially you play it once, and then every time that you play that hand after that, you're getting a ×3 bonus. So yeah, it's probably a B tier card. I use it quite a lot, especially mid game. Early to mid game is very, very useful. Late game, you basically you want cards in your late game that are going to benefit you each hand that you play, and this is going to be missing out on the first hand of each round, so it doesn't have the benefits of going through to the end game. But yeah, personally, I think it's quite a good card. So. We have the red card. So the red card, this Joker gains a 3+ multiplier when any booster pack is skipped. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, if you get a lot of booster packs come up and you're just skipping them all willy-nilly, especially early game there, it can be fine, but you're basically going to be missing out on a tarot card to add a +3 multiplier. Generally, the tarot card's going to be more beneficial to you than adding a +3 multiplier anyway. So unless you get if you get tarot cards, they're going to have no impact on your specific type of playstyle, your hand type, then yeah, skip them and add the 3+ to it. But no, I avoid this one here, to be honest. So again, it's better than some of these ones down here, but no, not something that I would be going out of my way to pick up. Now, the Madness. This card is a bit of a controversial one because I've seen people make absolutely stellar hands out of this. So when a small blind or a big blind is selected, gain a 0.5 multi and destroy a random Joker. It's good. I mean, adding a zero point 0.5 multi, you can build your multiplayer up very quickly, especially if you get this early game. And I think that's where it's the only benefit. If you get this early game, I'd be putting it in high B, even a low A. I've built it up and I had like a ×9 multiplayer, which was amazing. But you can't really build up the rest of your jokers there because you might have this thing sitting nicely. It's got a +5 plus or times. Sorry, you might have this and it's got a ×5 or a ×6 multiplayer or whatever it may be. But you might pick up another awesome joker up here, but you're running risk of that joker then just being destroyed and getting added to that ×5. So yeah, unless this is going to be your only card in your hand, I'd not be using it. I'd probably. I never use it now, just because I think it's just counterproductive there. It does not have the benefits to be able to justify using it at all, just because there's no way that this card is better than, say, if you got these 4 cards up the top there. This thing is just absolutely trash in comparison. But I have had some fun with it, and I have seen people make some stupidly high scores with it as well. So I'd probably go a low B. Again, for me personally down here, but there are going to be people that are going to benefit from that, especially if you're not just going on to the endless run. If you just want to get yourself to basically the end of the 8th ante there and then start over, this thing can carry you the whole way by itself. If you bulk up your deck and your tarot cards and spectral cards and everything else in between, so it can be good. Next we have the Square Joker. So this Joker gains +4 chips if played hand has exactly 4 cards. Yeah, if you're doing a 2-pair or if you're doing a 4 of a kind, adding 4 chips each time, it can be good, but you'd want to be doing those early. If you're doing 2-pair and you get this early on, yeah, fine, this is a decent card. It'd probably be a high C or a low B, but if you get this anything past the sort of second ante, I'd be avoiding it completely. So I'd be going probably a high D, maybe. I don't use it. I don't play 4 cards, and if I do, it's a 4 of a kind, and if I do that, generally it's taken me 4 or 5 antes to build my deck up, so 4 of a kind's not such a rarity. So, and by that point, this thing's just not going to be able to gain the legs to really be beneficial. So 2-pair, if you're doing a 2-pair hand, by all means go for this, but only if it's early on. That's the only time I'd be recommending it. Next up, we have the Seance card. So the Seance card is it's a hard one to gauge because you essentially need a straight flush and it will create a spectral card. Nice and easy on paper, but a straight flush is not an easy hand to get. If you're using the checkered deck, sure, makes it a bit easier. If you're also using which card is it? If you're using the Joker, that essentially means you can get straights or flushes with 4 cards, then yeah, it's got an added layer because it's a much easier thing to get a straight flush there. And creating a spectral card, you might get some more powerful bonuses and so on. But it's such a gamble of a card that I can't really recommend it. So I never use it because, again, straight flushes are pretty close to impossible. I also see the benefit. If you were someone who's got things lined up and straight flushes are something you can go for, yeah, I mean, I'd probably be going a low B, mid B even. It's pretty good. Getting a spectral card each time you're playing a hand is insane. It's such a good payoff, but I avoid it just because it's such a finicky thing to try and aim for. So yeah, for me personally, and for most players, especially new players, avoid, 100% avoid. If you're an experienced player, you're doing straight flush run, then yeah, it'd be up here and go for it every time. But no, not something that for a new player I'd be recommending. So next we have the Riff Raff card. So when the blind selected, create 2 common jokers. This could be an awesome little card for a number of reasons. Very early on, when you've got no jokers and it's just creating 2 jokers each time you select the hand, you can get lucky and it can pick some half-decent jokers for you there to keep you going. This card is also pretty good if you get lucky as well when you're using it with Madness, because it will just create 2 Jokers. The Madness will just chew it up, add it to the bonus, away you go. But then you've got the risk of the Madness actually eating up that card and it just becomes useless. So, as an early game card, this is a very good one to pick up, just so you can build out your Jokers a bit quicker. Um, Obviously, later, as soon as you start getting to sort of ante 3, 4, you start getting a bit of a feel of what your run's going to be like. I'd avoid it completely, but I can't say avoid completely because it's something I'll use early round if it's something that comes up. It's something I can afford. Um, so yeah, I'd go a high C. I think it's pretty good. So I'll use it when it pops up early game. So next up we have the Vampire. So the Vampire, this Joker gains a 0.1 multi per scoring enhanced card played, but it removes the enhancement. I don't like this card. If you've got enhanced playing cards, generally you're going to get a decent benefit from them. Removing that to add in 0.1, unless you have a ton of them there and it's not really helping your hand, then fine. But nah, this thing I don't like. For an uncommon card as well, I'd expect a bit better of a payoff. Like maybe even if it was you have a 1 in 2 chance or a 1 in 4 chance of having the enhancement removed, it might be a bit more worth the gamble. It'd probably be up worth a sort of a C. But nah, for a newcomer, I would avoid that card completely. Next, we have Shortcut. So this is a good hand, especially when I was playing straights. So allow straights to be made with gaps of 1 in the rank. So you can have a straight where it will be 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. So it's missing the 5, but that's fine. Or you can have one that's 2, 5, 6, 8, 9. Like it can miss as long as there's only a 1 number gap between them. You're good to go. I mean, you can have an ace 3, 5, 7, 9. Like just missing every odd number there. As long as there's only one number between each of the actual played numbers, you're good to go. This would work very nicely in comparison, like in conjunction with Seance, where you're going for a straight flush. So that could be quite a benefit there. You might have a whole bunch of hearts up there, but just not enough for like a straight flush. But you might have enough to be able to make that work. So I think Shortcut's decent. If you're doing straights, especially, this thing is almost invaluable sometimes, especially if you don't want to be discarding multiple cards and so on and so forth. I'd be putting it probably even low B for a straight player. Yeah, maybe even mid B. It's a decent card to have. So next we have the hologram. This Joker gains 0.25 multi every time a playing card is added to your deck. This can be good if you are adding extra cards to your deck frequently and you have this early on. 0.25 multi being added each time is insane. Like, if you add, 4 cards, you're adding an extra 1 times multi in that. If you add 20 cards to it, you're adding an extra times 5 multi in that. So, hologram's quite awesome. If you get this early on, it is probably low A. If you get it mid game, probably going to be more around a high C, low B. I'm probably going to, just for average's sake, I'll chuck it around here. It's something I really don't pick up too often there because I generally try to reduce my deck quite a lot there. But yeah, if you're adding cards to your deck quite frequently, if you've got something that's doing that, yeah, by all means go for that. That's an awesome little additional power up. Now, Vagabond. Vagabond's a rare card, so you expect big things from it. This thing is great, and it's also horrible. So I'm going to explain why. So essentially, it will create a tarot card if you play a hand and you have $4 or less in your bank. Now, I'm generally someone who likes to have a large bank balance there because some of the cards that will be coming up a bit later in that really benefit from having a robust amount in your bank account. But there's been some times where I've played it where I've just bought everything and expended everything and had this in my Joker hand and just getting a tarot card each time you play a hand. It's not even a round; it's a hand. So if you play 4 hands in a round, you're getting 4 tarot cards if you're under it. So this thing is quite OP, especially early on when you don't have much money to begin with. But if you're not worried about having a ton of funds in there and you're generally sitting around that 0 or whatever it may be, um, yeah, this can be quite good. And this actually is one of the only cards that makes the credit card good because you can go under $4 and still be able to afford to buy things up to $20, obviously. So this thing actually makes one of the worst cards, in my opinion, quite useful. So I honestly think that this is probably mid A. I think this is a good card. So very very good card. Next, oh, the big boy, the Baron. So the Baron is one of the most useful cards, I would say. So each king that's held in hand gives a 1.5 multi. This card is either extremely bad if you only have your 4 kings and they don't really come out very often, but if you have this with the DNA and you're continuously building kings up, and you've got a whole bunch of kings, or if you've changed a lot of your cards to be kings, so that every time that you have a hand come out, you have a lot of kings in it, this thing is friggin' insane. The benefits that this thing can give is well worth the risk. Like generally, if I get a DNA early, or if I'm ever changing cards, because especially when I'm playing a lot of high cards lately, if I'm ever changing cards or picking cards out of a new card to add to my deck, it's generally going to be a king, just purely because I'm hoping that the Baron comes up because it's such a beneficial card. I would definitely be putting this. Yeah, I'd be saying it's one of the most useful cards in the game. I get it every time it pops up. The only time I wouldn't get it is if it's later in the game and I haven't added any kings to it. That's the only time I wouldn't be getting it. If this comes up early game, I'll get it just to have it there for later and then focus purely on trying to get as many kings in my deck as possible. Definitely a card to go for. Like definitely go for that if you can. Next we have Cloud 9. So earn $1 for each 9 in your full deck at the end of the round. It's an uncommon card. It's one that adds money to your account there. If you have more than the standard 4 9s, yeah, I mean, it's just free money essentially. Again, it's nothing that's going to affect your gameplay loop. It's more so just essentially building up your balance. I can't see it being a bad thing, especially if you changed a lot of your cards to 9s as well. It definitely makes this a more useful card. Not something I go out of my way to get, unless I'm strapped for cash or it's a very early on kind of card to pick up. But yeah, I'd probably go around the mid to high C's. It's worth sort of grabbing if you can. The Rocket card. Now, for an uncommon card, this thing is on 2 extremes. If you pick this up late game, nah, it's probably close to an avoid. Otherwise, maybe a low D, I'd say. Low to mid D. Oh, probably a mid high D. It'd be in the D area somewhere. If you get this early, like I'm saying before mid game, before sort of ante 5, this thing's wicked. So essentially with the Rocket, you earn $1 at the end of each round. The payout increases by $2 when the boss blind is defeated. So you're essentially getting $1 each time you finish the game, finish a hand or a round. Beat the boss blind, that will jump up to 3. Go through the next ante, that will jump up to 5, 7, 9, and adds up quickly. So you are just getting essentially 3 money. If you get this in the first round or 2, it is just printing money. It is probably the best card when it comes to adding to your bank balance. And for that, if you get this early, if it comes out, say, ante 1 or 2, it's a get every time. If it's sort of getting to the mid game and you pick it up there, I'd be putting it even as a high A. It is awesome. It's one of the only cards that, unless you're sort of getting into the late game where it would be avoided at all costs, I'd be getting it pretty much up to round 6, even 7, depending on if you have strong other jokers as well. Awesome card. Definitely get it if you get a chance. The Obelisk. So the Obelisk is a rare. This Joker gains a 0.2 multi per consecutive hand play without playing your most played poker hand. I hate this card. If you are playing just randomly, yeah, fine. If you're just doing a straight and you're doing a flush and you're doing this and you're doing that, it can be okay. But generally, again, with Balatro, you want to build your run around a specific hand. So this thing becomes, for a rare card, it's just a horrible card. Like, you'd expect so much more out of it. There are people that will use this and they'll get fine benefit in it. Don't get me wrong. But you'd basically want to be playing, say, pairs all the way up until mid-game or mid to late game, and then get this thing, and then start adding to it. But by then it's too late. You're not getting the benefits of it. You're not going to get the multi up high enough where it's going to be more beneficial than any other card. I said, I've seen people do awesome things with it, but for me, nah. It is one of the worst cards in the game. I absolutely hate it. So when I get a free rare card from a skip bonus and that thing comes up, I almost get to the point where I want to restart my run. It just completely ruins my mood. It's just that bad of a card. So next we have the Midas Mask. So all played face cards become gold cards when scored. Nice easy one. Nothing, again, that's going to really benefit your play too much. It's more so about making some money. Very, very good if you've got a lot of kings, as I said. If you've got a lot of kings and you just play a bunch of kings, essentially, there, make them gold cards. You then got the Baron, so you're getting the benefit of the Baron. And then on top of that, you've got the Mime, so it's re-triggering any of the held in hand cards. It can be a beast when it comes to adding money to your account. I generally try to avoid it. Like, if I'm going to multiply a card, I want it to be beneficial to the score, not so much the money side of things. But it is definitely not one to avoid at all costs. I don't use it for my type of hand, but for someone who is new, especially if you're doing easier, smaller antes and so on and so forth, and different, like, the easier chip styles and stuff. Yeah, I'd be saying, yeah, probably around your sort of mid to high C. C is obviously getting a bit packed out now because there's a lot of mid-range cards. Obviously, hopefully we're going to start getting into some more of the more extreme cards. You probably find up here is going to fill out a little bit more. But yeah, Midas Mask is not my cup of tea, but it's definitely got its uses. So, the Luchador. So this card, it's a specific use card. So you sell it to disable the current big boss blind. This card has saved me more times than I can count. Essentially, just having it in the back burner. I've had then a boss blind come up, which has completely negated my run. When I was doing flush runs, it'd be all spades are stopped, and I've been basing my flush run around spades, or all face cards, and I've been basing my run around face cards, whatever it may be. This thing here, you sell it off, cancels out the big blind, the boss blind. Even one that's really big is the extra big blind. You might have got some decent scores coming in there, but then the extra big blind comes, especially in the higher antes, and it's just way too extreme for what your sort of setup can do. You sell this off, back down to a normal blind. So this thing is friggin' useful. So again, it's a one-time use. It's nothing that you keep around for ages. I mean, if another good card comes up, if you've got, say, 5 cards or 4 cards and this, and another good card comes up that would benefit you more, I'd just sell this off. It's nothing I'd keep a hold of if you can get a benefit out of another Joker. But yeah, it's an A tier card because it saved me a lot of times. So a once-off thing type deal. That's all it is. It's like a disposable camera essentially. You use it and you're done. Doesn't do anything besides that, but it is useful for what it is. Next, we have the photograph. So, first played card, face card, will give you a 2 times multi when scored. Yeah, this one's not bad. It's depends if you're playing a hand that's got a lot of picture cards in it. There, you can get a nice little bonus out of it, especially if it's an enhanced picture card. Nothing I'd write home about. Like, I don't think it's anything special. I do use it quite a lot, like especially early game. It's good. Um, if you've got nothing else that comes up and you are playing picture cards, yeah, go for a C tier. I wouldn't be getting anything past sort of mid game at all. I think it's useless past that point. But I'll go a mid C. God, we're up to a second row now. So now we got the gift card. So the gift card will add $1 of sell value to every Joker and consumable card at the end of the round. This thing's good, like very good. If you've got this and you've got multiple Jokers and so on, and it's just adding $1 to it each time, it just means that every time that you essentially pick up the tarot card that will base your will give you a dollar amount based off of the value of your Jokers or whatever it may be, or you've got a Joker that will have a multiplier that's based off of the dollar value of your Jokers. That's what this thing is here for. It's essentially here to add money to all your Jokers each time, and it just complements other Jokers quite well. It's, again, not one that I'll pick up heaps frequently for my types of runs, but it is definitely a beneficial Joker. Yeah, no, I'd be probably putting it in the around there. Yeah, that's about right. So it's good. It's useful. Next we have the Turtle Bean. So you get a +5 hand size, reduces by 1 every round. Yeah, it's a situational one. It's good if you're going for 5-card hands and stuff, and you just want to get through them quickly. It's definitely good in the first few antes there, where you're not really under too much pressure. But as soon as you start getting mid game, nah, avoid it. I don't see a huge benefit in it. Again, it can be good though if you have the Baron and you've got a ton of kings, and then you have this, and it just means that instead of having 6 or 7 kings on in your hand, you might have 10 or 12. This thing can be good, like very good, but nah, nothing that I'd probably be using past the first few antes, to be honest. So again, it's very useful in the right circumstances there, but not something I'd be going out of my way to get if you can avoid it. Next, we have Erosion. So Erosion, this one's a +4 multi for each card below 52 in your full deck. So yeah, if you're removing a shit ton of cards from your deck, this is quite good. Adding a 4+ multi for each card below. If you're down to, say, 40 cards, for instance, that's 12 cards you remove from your deck. You're looking at a +48 multi. Again, nothing that would probably take you into endgame. It is just it's an uncommon card, but it's a good mid game card, but yeah, not something I'd be taking into endgame. So yeah, Erosion, for an early game card, probably a low B, I'd say. For the rest of the time, it'd be a D or avoid at all costs. So, yeah, that's just me personally there. It's not something that I can see taking me into the end game. So, next we have Reserve Parking. Each face card held in hand has a 1 in 2 chance to give you $1. For a common card, this can be great, especially, again, in comparison or in conjunction with the Baron, where you're banking on having a whole bunch of kings in your hand. So yeah, Reserve Parking can be pretty damn good. I'd probably be going, again, maybe around here. It's a good way to build up your bank balance. Again, nothing you'd want to be taking really too late into the end game. It's something to help you build your bank balance up early, mid game ish area. But when you're getting into the end game, you just really want high end cards that are just going to absolutely boost your score into the stratosphere. You don't want to be worrying about money at that point. Next, we have the mail-in rebate. So earn $5 for each discarded ace. Rank changes every round. So this is basically just discarding a specific card each round there, and you'll get some money for it. You get $5 for each one. It can be a nice little way to add some coin. Yeah, basically, if you get 3 eights come up and it's the 8 that you have to discard, it's easy $15 for yourself. But yeah, early game card is probably a nice little B, I'd say. You're not too fussed about it, but once you start building it up, nah, probably a high D, I'd say. Not something I'd be going for past the mid game. So next we have To the Moon. So earn an extra dollar of interest for every $5 you have at the end of the round. If you are building your hand or your play on a high bank balance, this thing's a mid A, and that's probably where I'm going to chuck it. It just gives you, if you've got $100 in there, you're getting an extra $20 basically of interest each round that you play. It is just something that's going to launch your money dramatically higher very quickly. If you got $200, that's an extra $40 per round played. It's just insane. And I mean, I've had games where I've had over $500 and that card there, and I'm getting an extra $100 in interest pretty much every time I play a hand. It just this, in conjunction with some of the cards that will be based off of how much money's in your bank, this thing can be stupidly powerful, almost to the point where it's up here. I'd actually probably pop it. Yeah, it's funny that the top of A is 2 money making cards, but these things are so overpowered and benefit you so much that they are worth having as top A's. So, next we have the hallucination. So 1 in 2 chance to create a tarot when any booster pack is opened. Yeah, it's an A. You pick a booster pack, you get a 1 in 2 chance of getting a free tarot card. They're good odds. Again, something you probably want to take into the end game. Yeah, by that point they want to just be focusing on multipliers and adding chips and yeah, all of that jazz there. But early game, yeah, I'd probably be saying early to mid game, even into getting into the end game. If you got other jokers that are just absolutely crushing it, this thing's awesome to have around. So yeah, I'd be popping it around here. So good card that one there, and it's a common, which is insane. So the Fortune Teller. So this is a +1 multi per tarot card used this run. If you're using a lot of tarot cards, it is fine. But no. For me, not useful. I don't think so. +1 multi per tarot card. I mean, for it to have any benefit, you've had to have used 30 or 40 tarot cards at that point, and you just don't get that. So it's just not good. I mean, again, if you use that in conjunction with hallucination, where you're getting tarot cards like crazy, yeah, it could probably boost it out of that area, but no, for me, it's an avoid. The Juggler, real basic. This is a +1 hand size. That's all it is. So you're just getting an extra card. Good for your early game there when you're just trying to probably go for 5 card runs there when you have got no jokers or anything like that. It's fine, but anything as soon as you've got jokers on the field, nah, this thing's useless for me personally. So now we have the Drunkard, very similar. This one is pretty much a +1 discard. This one is the twin, essentially, of this one here, just for a different reason, but it's much more useful. The extra discard, early mid game especially, is handy, and it's especially good when you're using it for something like delayed gratification or the banner. Yeah, I mean, for a mid up to a mid game there, I'd probably go a low B. Probably drops to a low C. Well, actually, no, it probably drops down to avoid at all costs as soon as you start getting into end game stuff. But that comes up before, say, Anti 5. You can get some use out of that for a little bit. The Stone Joker. So this gives 25 chips for each stone card in your full deck. So I didn't like the Stone Joker down here. Obviously, I've put down avoid at all costs. If you get this with this, these can be very powerful. So you are creating essentially each time you pick a blind, you're going to be creating a stone card for your playing deck, and you're getting 25 chips for each of those. If you get that one there early on, and you're just creating playing card after playing card, this thing then pops out there, and all of a sudden you're getting hundreds of additional chips. Yeah, it's awesome. For me, it's an avoid at all costs because I don't use the stone cards. But even if you've only got a few stone cards in your deck, this is pretty good. Like if you've only got, say, 4, it's an extra 100 chips. It's better than any of these C tier ones I'd find. So I'd honestly be putting it into a low B. I think it's pretty useful. The Golden Joker, very basic income one. Get $4 at the end of each round. Awesome early game, even mid game can be pretty good, but there's just so many other cards that benefit you with the income side of things up here. I'd say, yeah, probably again another low B. It's not a bad card. It has its benefits there, especially early to mid game, but again, not one that you'd want to be keeping for the long term. All right, now we're getting into some of the interesting cards. So this Joker will gain a 0.25 multi every time a lucky card successfully triggers. So if you've got lucky playing cards, they trigger. This thing will essentially get a 0.25 multi. Now, it can be good if you've got a lot of lucky cards there and a lot of them being played there. Your chances of getting this thing added up are quite good. I generally don't use it because I generally find that my hands don't have a lot of lucky cards in them. And if I do have lucky cards in it there, they don't trigger as often as I'd like. So for someone who's got a lot of lucky cards, this thing can be awesome. I'd probably be putting it into a mid B. For someone like me, it's a D to an avoid all cost, but for many people, this thing could be of benefit, I think. So if you've got a lot of lucky cards there, definitely pick that one up. All right, the baseball card. The baseball card will essentially give you a 1.5 multi for every uncommon Joker that you have. So a 1.5 multi for each uncommon. If you've got a lot of uncommons, like if you've got 4 or 5 uncommons, that's a massive multiplier to have added on there. Generally, I try, if I get this come up here, I'll move rare cards out of or rare Jokers out to get uncommons, because this thing can just be OP as hell. This would be very high A, almost to a get every time. Again, the only reason this wouldn't be in get every time is if I have no uncommon Jokers, or I've only got 1. It doesn't make it worth filling up the slot. If I've got more than 2, or if I've got 2 or more, then yeah, I'd get it every time. Otherwise, it'd be a high A. I'm actually going to chuck it in the get every time, because besides, generally you're going to have a couple of uncommons anyway. The only times, as I said, I wouldn't be getting it is if you have no uncommons, but yeah, no, definitely pick it up if you have it. Next, we have the Bull. Now, the Bull, for my playstyle, is get every time. You get 2 chips added for every dollar that you have. So if you have $100 in your bank, you're getting 200 chips added to your hand. Now, if you've got 500 chips, you're getting $500. You're getting 1,000 chips added to your hand. Use this with, say, the Blueprint. You're getting 2,000 chips added to your hand. This thing is just nuts. I'd say that this lately for me has actually been above the Baron, to be honest. So I've been using the hell out of this, and it's an uncommon, which is just mental. Which I think should even put it above the DNA. But this thing can be so overpowered. If you've got the rocket early on, and you've got this interest one, and you've got delayed gratification, you've got all these things that are just adding coin to your account. It almost gets to the point where you don't need to really spend any money because the more money you have in your bank account, the more this bull thing just takes off. It just absolutely destroys. So yeah, no, bull is a god tier card. Yeah, I put it above the Baron. Everything. It's awesome. So the only thing I like more is the DNA, just purely for my playstyle. So next we have the Diet Cola. So the Diet Cola, again, a nice easy one-off card. Sell this card to get a double tag. Yeah, I mean, I try not to skip rounds too often there, but this thing is awesome if, say, something like get a negative if you skip, or get a rare card if you skip. You sell this bad boy, and you get two of those. Especially the negatives there, you can add an extra two cards, no, two jokers there. So this thing's I pick up every time because it's good to have in the old back burner. You might get this early game, and then it might not be until ante 6 or 7 where a skip bonus comes up, and you go, God, I could really use that. Sell that off, you get two of them. Yeah, it's such a good one-off card. For a one-off card, it's not something that you're going to be getting any benefit out of other than getting two skip bonuses, but yeah. Next, we have the trading card. So, trading card is if the first discard of the round has only one card, destroy it and earn $3. So this is good if you want to clear out your deck a bit. Just play one card, get $3. Sorry, don't play. Discard one card and get $3 and destroy it. So it's good if you want to thin out your thing, your deck, and you want to get a few extra dollars in the old bank account. I never use it. It's an avoid at all costs for me, but I can't justify putting it down here. I'd be saying it'd be a high B, just because if you're trying to thin your deck out, you can basically remove one card each round, and you're getting $3 for it. Actually, to be honest, I'd have to put it in a high B because it is so. Whoops, no, that's not the one I wanted to put there. That's the one. I'd have to put it up there again. For me, it's an avoid at all costs. I never use it. Actually, I have used it sometimes, but yeah, I don't use it often at all. But yeah, definitely low B. Next, we have the Flash card. So this Joker will... So the Flash card, this Joker will gain a +2 multi per reroll in the shop. Nah. One of the most useless ones for me there. It's good in conjunction if you've got the reroll card. Where is it? Oh, wherever I put it. Yeah, it's fine for that, but I don't really reroll too much in the shops. Again, I base my hands off of having as much money in the bank account as possible. So I'm only buying stuff when I'm getting to mid to end game if it's 100% necessary or if it's going to make my hands better. I'm definitely not doing rerolls at that point, so no, useless to me. Popcorn. This is a common card, a good early game card. You get a +20 multiplier. It goes down by 4 each round. Early game, yeah, probably around a B. For most of the other time, though, I'd be putting it around a mid D. It's nothing flashy. Probably a little bit higher. I'd say probably around there. Not great. Again, early game is pretty good, but that's probably the only time you want it there. Just to sort of help you get across the line until you build up the rest of your play. Next we have Spare Trousers. So this Joker will gain a +2 multi if played hands contain a 2 pair. So if you're playing 2 pair, yeah, probably a high C, low B. Yeah, sort of limited there. I don't really play 2 pairs too much anymore. If you get it early on, yeah, I'd probably put it in a high C, low B. But for most people, I'd just say, no, avoid it. I wouldn't be going for 2 pair runs, to be honest. That's just me personally, but yeah. We got another rare card here. So we got the Ancient Joker. Each played card with a spade suit, for instance, or a heart suit, gets a 1.5 multi when scored, and the suit changes each round. So if you're playing a flush run there, it can be good. But generally, if you're playing flush runs, you are building up all your hearts, or you're building up all your spades, or your diamonds. You're not going to be playing the other suits very often in a flush run, so you might only get the benefits of this once every 4 rounds. So I honestly, for a rare card, if you're doing flush runs, then you're not really changing your deck too much out. It probably would be a C or a D, but for a rare card, I think it's up there with the Obelisk as one of the worst cards, which is surprising, being a rare card as well. You'd expect that to be a little bit better, but nah, not for me. Next, we have Ramen. So you get a ×2 multi, and you lose a 0.1 multi per card discarded. This one's not bad. So for me, I don't really, as I said, try to use discards. Try to use banner and stuff like that quite early on. Delay gratification. I'd be putting this around the mid. Actually, mid to high, because you're basically getting a 2 times multi. If you're not doing any discards, you're always getting a 2 times multi. It's extremely beneficial early on, and it's something that can see you into the later game as well. It's nothing extraordinary. I mean, it's an uncommon, but yeah, it's for what it is. It's quite good. Next up, we have the walkie-talkie. So each play 10 or 4 gives you 10 chips and +4 multi. Again, good early game card, especially if you have this in conjunction with Even Steven, and you're playing 10s and 4s. Very good if you're getting like a 10-4 full house. It's not a bad card. I'd be putting it at a high C, maybe. It's got its benefits. If you are just playing 10s or just playing 4s, it's probably going to be higher. But no, there's other cards that are probably going to be better for you anyway. Next up, we have the Seltzer. So the Seltzer is essentially you re-trigger all cards played for the next 10 hands. If you are playing a 5-card hand, this thing is awesome. If you're doing like a 5 of a kind or a straight or a flush, yeah, this can be good. If you're not, if you're doing a single card, it's even kind of useful for that. If you've got an enhanced card and you're doing high card or 2-pair, you still get the benefit of it there. It only lasts 10 hands, so it's not a permanent card anyway. But you're getting the benefit of it each time. So it can really just make your next 10 hands quite easy if you have it handy. So I honestly can't say it's a bad card at all. I'd be putting it in the A tier area. Again, it's only getting 10 uses out of it there, but those 10 uses are so beneficial. So I can't see it being anything lower than an A tier. Next, we have the Castle. So the Castle, this Joker gains 3 chips per discarded spade suit, and this changes every round. Again, this is one where you're going to be focusing on discards, and you're getting your 3 chips. So if it comes up with spades and you discard 5 spades, you get 15 chips. It's not a bad card. Not one that I use at all, but it is a card that I can pretty strongly recommend to anyone who's just playing randomly and hasn't got a specific hand in play or whatever it may be, or you're not playing anything where you're needing to worry about discards. So I'd be probably going a low B. Yeah, probably around there. Next we have the Campfire. Whoops, I missed one here, sorry. Firstly, we'll go with Smiley Face. So Smiley Face, yeah, Smiley Face is pretty good. Smiley Face is very similar to your Scary Face, where it's based off of having face cards. But instead of getting your nice sort of chip bonus there, you're getting a 5+ multi. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rate it as high as those. I'd probably go with a mid B, especially mid to early game. you'd want to probably get rid of it around ante 4 or 5, if you can. I don't think it's anything useful past that point. Not as good as the scary faces anyway. Now we'll go to Campfire. So Campfire, this Joker gains 0.25 multi for each card sold, and it resets after the boss blind. So if you're selling a lot of cards, yeah, you can build up a nice little additional multiplier there, but it involves you selling cards continuously. It's good for people that are playing those types of games where you will have a lot of cards to sell, especially if you've got stuff that's sort of giving you tarot cards continuously, or planet cards, or whatever it may be there. If you're getting free cards continuously, then yeah, go for it. But yeah, for a rare card though, I honestly expect a lot more. I'd probably go a high D. I think it's useful for what it is, but for a rare card, you expect a lot more. It's not quite as bad as these two little rare ones down here, which are goddamn horrible, but I'd still rate it. It's not one I'd avoid at all costs. It's something you can still use. All right, next we have the golden ticket. So, played gold cards, earn $4 when scored. So, if you're turning all your picture cards into gold cards. All right, getting down to the last parts here, we have got the golden ticket. So play gold cards, earn $4 when scored. So if you build up your say using the Midas Mask there, and you've got a lot of gold cards, yeah, I mean $4 for each one played. If you've got a lot of them in there, you can build your bank balance up quickly. Again, not one that's going to have a huge benefit on your actual gameplay, but it is one that can help you really build up your bank balance quite well. So I'd have to put it pretty much right next to the Midas Touch. These two go in conjunction with each other. These two together, you might even jump up into a B tier. Separately, not very good. Separately, I'd probably even put the gold ticket even lower, just purely because, yeah, I mean, I never use it. I'd probably put it even down there. But if you get it with the Midas Touch, or you just have a lot of gold cards, good little card. So next we have Mr. Bones. So Mr. Bones prevents death if the chips scored are at least 25% off the required chips, and then it will self-destruct. So very good if you're going for a high blind, especially in the late game. This can save you if you didn't quite make it there, but you're short by less than 25%. It's good. I'd go a low B. It's got its use. Again, it's a once-off card, very much like the Luchador. So it's just something that's going to help save you, and that if you have a rough round, basically. So next we have the Acrobat. So the Acrobat is going to give you a 3 times multi on the final hand of the round. Again, early game, it's not too bad. I don't think it's great for an uncommon card. You're only getting one use of it per round, and chances are, if you started playing Balatro for a while, you're not going to really be using your final hand anyway until very late game, and by that stage, you're probably going to have some better cards anyway. So, nah, not great. Sock and Buskin. This, in conjunction with this and this, is OP as hell. So I'm actually going to put these 3 together. If you have those 3, they are an insanely good combination. Every card that you play, if you're playing 5-card hands, every card is a face card. You're getting 50 chips for each of those, and then on top of that, you're getting them re-triggered. These 3 here can just be nuts. Like if you have all these 3 here, they'd probably be up in the get every time. But no, these 3 together are insanely good. So something to worth playing for. If you can get 2 of them early, then try and hold out for the 3rd one, and you've got yourself a handy little Joker sort of synergy going on there. The Swashbuckler. So the Swashbuckler is kind of what I was talking about earlier, and it's one that I use a lot. So this adds the sell value of all your Jokers owned to the multi. So if you've got the egg and that thing's up high, And then on top of that, you've got which card is it? The reserve parking, I believe it is, where it adds $1 to your Joker values each hand or each round. Swashbuckler is very OP for a common card as well. Like, I have to chuck this high. Like, being a common card, that thing in the right circumstances can be insane, so powerful. So reserve parking, and the egg card with the swashbuckler, you can build your bank balance up massively. And then if you have the bull on top of that there, where it's going to be based off of what your dollar value is, wicked, awesome little synergy. So next we have the Troubadour, I believe it's pronounced. It's all right. I mean, it's +2 hand size, but you miss out on a hand each round. I don't use it at all. I don't think it's good. It's got its scenarios. If you're basing your hand off of like a large hand, like a 5-card, like a flush or a straight or anything like that, having the extra 2 cards come out could be good, but you'd want to be basing it off of you essentially just dominating the score in the first or second hand. You don't want to be missing out on an additional hand and then being cut short at the end there. So I don't think it's useful at all. Again, for an uncommon card as well, you expect a bit more. Next, we have the Certificate. So when a round begins, add a random playing card with a random seal to your hand. This could be alright. In use with... Which one is it here? I believe it's the blue. I think it's the blue. So if you've got... where it's based off of how many cards you have in your deck will give you additional chips, this thing's just going to continuously be adding cards to your deck. But in saying that, it just means that it's going to be harder for you to get specific cards out if you're going for a specific type of run. So it's all right. Like, I don't use it at all. It's down here for me. I'd probably put it in the C because it has its uses. It is nice getting free sealed cards and stuff like that. But not a overly useful card. I wouldn't recommend it, but I have to put it in C because I can see its benefits. So next we have the Smeared Joker. So this is hearts and diamonds will count as the same suit, and spades and clubs count as the same suits. So this is very, very good if you are trying to get flushes, or especially straight flushes there. You can get straight flushes much easier with this. This thing, again, is nothing that I use, but it has a large benefit purely for that. This being used with any cards that are based on you getting straight flushes, or like the what's the card called? The one where you let me go back quickly. Next up, we have the Smeared Joker. So the Smeared Joker is pretty good. So you get hearts and diamonds counting as the same suit, and spades and clubs counting as the same suit. If you're going for straight flushes, this card's pretty much almost a necessity. It would just make things so much easier for you. I'm going to go probably around around here. I don't go for the straight flushes very often there, but when I do and this pops up, it makes it a lot easier. So big benefit if that's your type of hand. Next we have the Throwback. The Throwback is an uncommon card, so this will give you a 0.25 multi for each blind skipped this run. So if you're skipping a lot of blinds, this can add a multi to your score quite rapidly. If you get this early on and you're doing a lot of skipping and stuff like that, this can be almost an end game card. I'd be putting this as a high A, if not a get every time. I'd probably go here because I generally don't like skipping blinds. Unless I get this thing very early on, and then I'll skip like crazy. But generally, I don't want to be skipping there because I want to get the benefits of getting the coin and being able to go to the shop and so on and so forth and build up my playstyle. But it is definitely a beneficial hand, that one. So a beneficial card to have. So next we have the Hanging Chad. So re-trigger the first card used in scoring 2 additional times. This, for my type of play style, I use obviously going for high card a lot of the time there. This thing's awesome. So it will just basically re-trigger the card that you're playing, if you're doing high card especially, an additional 2 times. And if that's an enhanced card, you get the benefits of those an additional 2 times. It is awesome. Like, even for a two pair or a straight or anything along those lines there, if the first card you're playing is an enhanced one there, you are getting the benefits of it. So I think this is a very useful card to have. So I'd probably chuck it around, yeah, around there. I pretty much pick it up every time I use it for my high card runs. So now, the next we have got is the Rough Gem. So played cards with a diamond suit will get $1 when scored. Yeah, if you're playing the diamond flushes and stuff, it's beneficial. But yeah, not great. I mean, I wouldn't use it me personally, just because I don't do diamond. If I'm doing flushes, I usually go for a spade or something anyway. But yeah, it's got its uses, so I'll chuck it in D. I wouldn't avoid it completely. It's still got its uses, especially early game, but that's about it. Next we have the Bloodstone, so that's a 1 in 2 chance for the played card. If it's a heart suit to give you a 1.5 multi, much better. If you're going for a flush run there, I'd probably even be putting this up into the Bs. Yeah, 1 in 2 chance to get a 1.5 multi on your hand is pretty decent, especially if you're doing 5 hearts each hand that you're playing. You've got a pretty good chance of getting a multipliers on that. So, the Arrowhead. So the Arrowhead is, again, similar to Bloodstone. Play cards with a spade suit will give you 50 plus chip when scored. If I'm doing a flush run, this card is gold to me. So I'd be popping it up here. If I'm doing a flush run, it's a get every time because I'm usually doing a spade run anyway. But yeah, it is awesome. The 50 chips per card. It's pretty much an additional 250 chips each time you're doing a flush. So. And lastly, we got the Onyx Agate. So, played cards with a club suit will give you a 7+ multiplier. I don't see it anywhere near as good as Arrowhead or Bloodstone. It's still not bad, but no, I don't rate it highly. Still better than the Cut Gem because it actually does affect your score in some way. I'd probably be chucking it around there. Next, we have the Glass Joker. So the Glass Joker will gain a 0.75 multi for every glass card that is destroyed. If you have a lot of glass cards, this can be a wicked card to have because it will just gain massive multiplier scores. It's situational. You have to have a lot of glass cards. So it's, again, for me, it's an avoid at all costs personally, but I can't deny that it's a very useful card. So I'd chuck it up in B. If you got a lot of glass cards there, if you got a lot of glass cards, I mean, I would be chucking it probably up into an A, but as an average, I'll put it around a B, a low B. I think it's still got some use there. Next, we have the Showman. So Joker, Tarot, Planet, and Spectral cards may appear multiple times. This is not a bad little card, especially early on when you're trying to build your deck up. This thing can be friggin' powerful. Like, if you get 2 versions of a rare Joker, for instance, there, it's just insane. So, especially early game, I'll probably go a very high. I'm going to even go a low A. I wouldn't be using it again late game, but early to mid game when you're trying to build your play style and you build your deck and your Jokers and all that stuff up, this thing's wicked. So good. Next, we had the Flower Pot. So the Flower Pot is 3 times multi if the poker hand contains a diamond card, a club card, a heart card, and a spade card. Absolute trash to me. One of the worst cards in the game. It'd only be beneficial if you're going for a 4 of a kind or a 5 of a kind or a straight or anything along those lines there. But then you have to also hope to hell that you've got one of every suit in there. It's so situational. It's just not good. So not for me. I don't think it's good at all. So, all right. Next up, we have Blueprint. Now, Blueprint is a card. Funny enough, this one here essentially copies the ability of the Joker to its right. So, this card is my favorite card in the game by a long shot. I'd almost create another tier level purely for the Blueprint card. It is so beneficial. So if you say using DNA and you play your single card, you get a copy of it, you got the blueprint attached to the DNA, you're getting 2 copies of it. If your bull is giving you 500 chips towards your score, you get the blueprint attached, you're getting 1,000. If you got the king, you're getting 1.5 per king held in hand. With that, you're getting an additional 1.5 king. It is just an absolute powerhouse. This one little hidden trick that I have found with the blueprint is if you use the blueprint with the burglar, it will get rid of all your discards, but you'll get not only 3 additional hands, you'll get 6 additional hands. So you can have like 12 hands basically if you play it right every time with the blueprint. This card is god tier. It does deserve its own level, but I'm telling everybody now, there's going to be no cards, even the legendaries, that will come in front of the blueprint. It is just phenomenal. The best card in the game. Next, we have the Wee Joker. So this is a rare Joker. You gain 8 chips whenever you use a played 2. If you got lots of 2s, yeah, great. But nah. For me, that's avoid at all costs. I don't play 2s regardless. And even if they do come up occasionally, it's just not going to be worth it. Early game, sure, it's fine. But unless you've changed a lot of your cards to 2s, it's pretty close to useless. So next we have Merry Andy. So you got the +3 discards each round, but it's -1 hand size. So this one's not bad. Use this in conjunction with something like Delayed Gratification or the Banner, where you're basing it off of how many discards you have there. Merry Andy can actually be pretty OP. It's pretty good, especially early game. So I'd go mid to high B. I'd probably chuck it around there. I think it's actually pretty good. Next we have the all 6s. So this one is it doubles all listed probabilities. So if you've got say a 1 in 3 chance of a possibility coming up there, it'll change it to a 2 in 3 chance. So it just means that stuff where you've got a probability percentage or a chance there, it will double it. It does cause issues when you're using it with the banana or Cavendish, because it just means that you're doubling your chances of your card being destroyed. So especially with Cavendish there, it's still a 1 in 500 chance, but it's a lot worse than a 1 in 1,000 basically. So but I think it's got its uses. I think it's quite good, especially if you have a lot of cards with probability percentages in it there. It can be pretty good. So I'll go low B. I think it's pretty good. Next up, we got the Idol. So it looks like the face from Crash Bandicoot, the mask. Each played ace of spades gives you a 2x multi when scored, and the card changes every round. So essentially, you have to base what you're playing off of what this card is going to be basically benefiting you on there. So not for me. Nah, I hate that. I hate where you have to leave. Well, you're getting the benefits of this based off the randomness and not committing to a specific type of hand, because that's just not how you play Balatro. If you're trying to get places in Balatro, you're not going to be basing it on luck or random hands like that. So I think it's just to avoid at all costs. Seeing double. So this is a 2x multi if the played hand is a scoring club card and the scoring card of any other suit. So essentially, if you are playing a pair, for instance, there, and you've got a club and a heart, for instance, you get a 2x multi. For a pair player, it's fine, especially early on. I'd probably go a late B. For the rest of it, it's probably not as beneficial as a lot of the other cards up here. I'll go low. No, I'm going to go high C. I don't think it's great, but it's still got uses. So next we've got the Matador. So earn $8 if the played hand triggers the boss blind ability. This one can be pretty fun. If you got a boss blind and then you trigger it for whatever reason, yeah, get $8 for it. Can't complain. It's free money. What that also does, though, is it means you're generally either going to be sort of hurting yourself in some other way. You're either wasting a turn, or you might lose all your money, or whatever it may be. It's a situational one. I'll go a high D, probably the highest D. Some people might get heaps of benefit out of it there, and it could be up in the B area, but for me, nah, I don't think it's that useful. Okay, now I was excited about this next one. So this is the Hit the Road. So this Joker gains 0.5 multi for every jack discarded this round. Unless you've got a ton of jacks and you're basing it off of discarding a lot of your cards and so on and so forth, for a rare card, it's just not that good to me. I get it occasionally because it might be the best card that's there. I honestly don't think it's that good. And I've seen players do some pretty awesome things with it, but I would not be recommending it to newcomers at all. I'd be saying a mid D. It's fun to try out if you have a ton of jacks in your deck, and you can discard them. This thing can be wicked. Like if you do 3 discards and you're discarding 3 or 4 jacks each time, there you could be getting 5, 6, 7 times multipliers there, which is massive. But you have to do so much building to get all those jacks in there, and then hope that they all come out and so on. It's just too much involved there. Like I'd be building towards something like the Baron well over the on the road card. So next we got the duo. So these are all card-based ones. So this one here, get a 2 times multi if you're playing a pair. You can't go wrong with it there. It's a B tier. If you're doing pairs, it's fine. Get a 3 times if you're doing a 3 of a kind. Again, very good. I'll probably put it a bit higher there because 3 of a kind's not much harder to get, and 3 times multi is way better. The family, so this is 4 of a kind. So 4 times multi if your hand contains a 4 of a kind. This one's actually probably a bit higher for me because I play 5 of a kind quite a lot. So having a 4 of a kind in my 5 of a kind, I get the benefits of the 4 times multi all the time. I'd actually put this pretty high. I actually got a low A for that, to be honest. So that's such a beneficial one there. The order, which is 3 times multi if your hand contains a straight. Again, if you're playing straights, it's good. I'd probably be putting it in B tier. It's good. It's much higher if you're playing only straights, but yeah. And the same with the flush, the tribe one here. So 2 times multi if your hand contains a flush. Again, great. If you're playing flushes and that, it's nowhere near as good as the other ones there, I don't think. 2 times for a flush and that. You should be getting at least a 3, I think. I think they stuffed it up a little bit there. I don't think it's great like that. All right, we are down to the final lot, and there's some big cards in here too. Okay, so first we have the Stuntman. The Stuntman will give you 250 chips, but it will take away 2 like your hand size. It will drop it by 2. When you're playing high cards like me, you don't give a hoot about how many cards you have in your hand, to be honest. So I honestly would be putting it up here. It's one of the cards that I'll use every time there. Very similar to the Bull. It's something that will just give you a ton of chips there for very little negative impact. So I think that's a wicked card, that one there. The next card that we have is the Invisible Joker. So after 2 rounds, sell this card to duplicate a random Joker. Now, this card, again, is a very good card. What I'd be wanting to use this with is, say you've got 3 or 4 Jokers there, and then you get this bad boy come out. I'd wait the 2 rounds, and then I would decide which of the Jokers that you like the best, sell the other ones off, and then use the Invisible Joker. Because you don't want it just to duplicate one of the lesser quality cards, essentially. You don't want to have some decent ones up here that might be in the A tier or even the get every time, or even the B tier there, and then duplicate something that you've got down here in the D tier. That's where I'd be. That's my strategy for using the invisible card awesomely. I think that's the best way to use it. And I'd also chuck it up in here as well. I get it every time it pops up there because I'm just getting basically a duplicate. I've used that and got duplicate blueprints, which is just nuts. It's just so beneficial. It's such a good card. Next, we have got the Brainstorm. So this is like a reverse blueprint. Not really a reverse blueprint, but it does the same thing. It pretty much copies the ability of the leftmost hand. God, can't even talk, the leftmost card in your hand. So whatever Joker you've got all the way to the left there, it will just copy that ability. Yeah, I mean, another S tier. Clearly, it's such a good. It's up there with Blueprint, to be honest. There, it's very very close. I'd even probably chuck it there with the Blueprint, because it's basically the same thing. So, but I'm not going to gush over it because you already know my opinion on the Blueprint card. So, next we've got Satellites. So, and $1 at the end of a round for each unique planet card used this run. If you're just getting a whole bunch of planet cards, generally ones for free, yeah, this thing can be pretty good to make some extra coin up. Yeah, I mean, again, you want to be probably focusing on buying planet cards specific to your run, but yeah, why not? I mean, it's a way to make money there if you're just getting planet cards for nothing. So, yeah, I'll chuck it up in B. It's a good, decent way to make some money. Next, we've got Shoot to the Moon. So each queen held in hand gives a 13 plus multi. So this is like the Baron, just not as powerful, and it's based off queens. So if you've got a lot of queens, then yeah, I mean, this can be a pretty good card. And it's a common, which is nuts, because you might have 5, 6 queens in your hand there, and it's just giving you like 80 or 90 plus multi. So I'd go high B for this. So I think that's where that deserves to be. Probably around there. Yeah, that'll do. Next, we've got the driver's license. So the driver's license is a 3 times multi if you have at least 16 enhanced cards in your full deck. So this card, if you are adding enhanced cards to your deck, is great. You're just getting a 3 times multi as soon as you hit that 16 mark. But you have to hit that 16 mark. So this is not a card I'll be picking up early game. If you pick this up at early game and then you just don't add any enhanced to it there, it just means it's a wasted card slot there. It's done nothing for you. But if you get this mid-game and you've already added, like, say, 8 or 10 enhanced cards, and you go, I haven't got much more to go. I can just add another 6 or 8 cards to it there, and I can be over that 16-card threshold, then, yeah, it's a great card to pick up. So I'm probably go a mid-B. For a rare card, generally you'd want it to be a bit high. If you got the 16 enhanced, then yeah, it's probably in the A area, just because it's just an easy multiplier, but it's just a lot of faffing around to get to that point. Next, we have got the Cardomancer. So, create a tarot card when a blind is selected. It is a great little card. Every time you pick or go into a round, essentially, you get a free tarot card. There's no percentages. You're guaranteed to get it every time. Yeah, I'll go an A tier. For an uncommon there, there's no funny business with it there. You're just getting a free tarot card each time. If you get that early around, it's wicked. I wouldn't get it later on in the game, but early, yeah, it's a great card to get. Next, we got the Astronomer. So the Astronomer is all planet cards and celestial packs in the shop are free. I mean, you can't really say anything bad about that, can you? So I'd probably chuck it up around here. Yeah, I mean, getting free planet cards there. In conjunction with, I think it was Satellite, we're getting a multiplier off of every unique planet card there. You can just basically build that up nice and quickly. So next we have the Burnt Joker. So the Burnt Joker is upgrade the level of the first discarded poker hand each round. This thing, if you've got discards and you're not focused on keeping as many discards as possible, and even if you are, it is wicked. Now, I play high card there, so I basically, if I have this out, I'll just discard one random card. It will upgrade my high card each round. If you get this early game, it's essentially like getting a planet card each time you start a game, start a round. It's wicked. It's one of the best in the game, I'd say. I'd even put it above Baron. So I think it's that good, to be honest. So next we've got Bootstrap. So that's a +2 multi for every $5 you have. If you've got a ton of money in your bank, yeah, go for it. It's not bad, but you'd want to have quite a lot in there to make this beneficial. I generally don't use it. I don't think it's great. I'd probably even put this in a D tier. you'd have to have so much money in there to make it worth it. So for $5 there, to get I don't know, say you've got $100 in there, you'd be getting about a 50 multi, so it's not bad. Actually, yeah, when you think about it, it can't be that cruel to it there. I'll put it around a mid C. It has its benefits. All right, we are down to the rare cards. Not the rare, sorry, the legendary cards. So these ones you don't get very often, but when you do, magic can happen, or nothing can happen. First we got Canio. So this Joker gains a 1 times multi when a face card is destroyed. It is very situational. You have to be destroying face cards quite frequently to get that. But if you've got the ability to destroy face cards, you can build the multi up on this so quick. I wouldn't. I don't know. Where would you put this? I have to go a low A for a legendary in that as well. Like, I think I'm. But that's what. No, actually, if that's the case, I'm going to go probably a high B. It's just a lot of things have to align for you to be able to just destroy face cards that frequently, where this would be of benefit. You need tarot cards. You need lots of little things, basically. So to work in your favor to make this worth your while. Next we have the Tribule. So this is played kings and queens each give 2 times multi when scored. That's much better for a legendary card. I'd probably be putting this up into the high A's, I'd say. The only reason it's probably not higher is because generally if I'm going to have enough kings to make this worth it, I'm generally going to be aiming for the Baron anyway. So it can still be good. That's why I've got it up in the high A. It's not a bad card, especially for a legendary in that. So next up we have Yorick. So this Joker gains a 1 times multi for every 23 cards discarded. If you're not caring about discards, again, if you haven't got Banner or Delayed Gratification, this is a low get every time. If you're just discarding 5 cards each time, it gets very close to you being able to just get a ×1 multiplier every round almost. And if you get that early, that can really be super powered into the later games. Getting it late in the higher antes and that, it's nowhere near as beneficial. It would drop quite a few levels for that. But if you can get that in the first half of your run, this thing can just absolutely slap. So next we have Shikot. So this is disable effect of every boss blind. It is basically an unlimited luchador, so I can't put it below the luchador clearly, because the luchador, I have to. I'll put it up and get every time because you can't go wrong with that. You're just basically not getting any of the negative effects of the boss blinds continuously. So it's an unlimited luchador. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So, and lastly, we have Perkio. So creates a negative copy of 1 random consumable card in your possession at the end of a shop. This thing is the best legendary card. Where would you put it? Let's jack it around there. So, you got something sitting up in your top right corner in your consumable slot there. You finish your shop. As soon as you do that, it creates a copy of it. And if you have something that is quite a good consumable slot, something that's going to help benefit you there, you can just create endless copies of it. Just insane. Like something that might enhance a couple of your cards, or something that might turn one card into another card. Little things like that. And then all of a sudden you've got 5 of them, or 10 of them, or 20 of them. You can pretty much build a deck with that card alone. Perkio just is a deck building beast. Actually, to the point where I rethought about it. Oh God, Yeah, I have to put it up there. Because it's very much like the blueprint. Oh, but then DNA, it's like DNA as well. I'll put it below DNA. It's very much like a consumable version of DNA. You're just basically creating copies, which is insanely overpowered. So, um, yeah. So that there is my list. So, you got your get every times, A, B, C, D, and avoid at all costs. Now, as I said at the start, this is just for me personally. I mean, I've tried to be as unbiased as possible with my playstyle. I know newcomers and even other experienced Balatro players will play completely different types of uh, hand types and have different playstyles where some of these cards that are down in D or even in avoid at all costs for me, they might be in a B or an A or a get every time tier. And the ones that I have up the top here may be absolutely useless to them and they're down here. Like, this is just my opinion on it here. But as I said, after putting close to 1,000 hours into the game, having it on my computer, having it on my mobile phone, pretty much spending a good chunk of last year alone, just absolutely smashing Balatro out whenever I had a chance. Um, I can't even tell you how many games that I've played. This is kind of where I see all the Jokers sort of sitting for me personally. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'm going to be doing some more tier lists on the other aspects of Balatro. But I'd also be interested to hear if anyone's got any differing opinions of where I've placed things here. Have I sort of done a decent job? Is it sort of in line with what you've done? Have I made a mistake? Have I royally screwed it? Just have a look over it there. And yeah, be interested to hear what other people's opinions are. So, all right, that's enough for me. I am going to go and play some Balatro. Have a great day, mates, and thank you very much for watching. Peace.